What a WrestleMania, folks. Absolutely amazing last night. I apologize if my voice is pretty shot. I was marking the hell out after Seth Rollins cashed in Money in the Bank last night and won the WWE World Heavyweight title at the end of WrestleMania, which I did not see coming whatsoever. An absolute epic ending to WrestleMania last night, which superseded my expectations. I thought it was a great show from start to finish. Greatest of all time, and we'll get into that. Someone asked a question about that. A lot of good questions regarding WrestleMania tonight or last night. There is not as many questions as there are usually, but I wanted to go more in depth because I think a lot of these questions are very relevant to last night and the future and where we go from here. But like I said, a stellar show last night. If you want to get my full thoughts on the show, just throw out a few brief plugs here. NextEraWrestling.net for my full review of WrestleMania is up on the Columnist Corner. I was up until like 3:30 writing it last night, and I probably would have stayed up that late anyway because I was hyped, and I still am hyped from the cash in to win the championship last night. I could not get over that moment. So I was up late last night writing that review. If you want to check that out, nexterawrestling.net. No more of that .weebly stuff. That link still works, but .net is where you should go for all my WWE reviews, and WrestleMania is already up there. WrestleRant Radio tomorrow night. The link is on my Twitter. I tweet it out all the time. It is live365/stations/ECTV73. We're going to be reviewing WrestleMania for a 2 live hour special, 8 o'clock Eastern Time, 7 Central Time is the start time. We're talking all about WrestleMania, so those are the two ways you can check out my full reviews of WrestleMania before I get into my, my 2 cents on the show right here on the show. And of course, as always, if you want to send in a question, you can leave a comment down below in the comment section. You can tweet me on Twitter at WrestleRant, and you can also find me on Facebook at GrahamGSM Matthews. So that's going to be doing it for the plugs. Let's get right into the questions in regards to WrestleMania. This first one is not in regards to WrestleMania. From Justin D from Facebook. It's weird because we have so many WrestleMania questions. The first one's from like NXT, but still though a good question I thought was relevant. So from Justin, like I said, the rivalry between Blake and Murphy and Enzo Amore and Big Cass is heating up mainly around Carmella. Do you see Carmella parting ways with Enzo and Cass to manage Blake and Murphy at any point? I can definitely see that happening. I'd rather see that happen than the likely scenario of Enzo and Cass feuding over Carmella at some point in time. She's a nice addition to the act. People just don't like her. I genuinely don't like her. She just screams a heel to me for some reason. I think to a lot of people as well. That's why she's not very much welcome by the NXT audience wherever they go. But I feel like, I don't mind her in the group, but I just don't want her to be the catalyst for the breakup between Enzo and Big Cass. And I've talked about this, countless times here in the past here on the show, in that there is really no reason to break these two up. Big Cass is not good on his own. We saw that last year. Enzo Amore, I think, could be okay. I feel like they would make him a Santino. That's what I fear they would do. So I don't want to see that happen, to be quite honest with you. I could see him as a manager, but I feel like the money with them is as a tag team. So I would keep them together, and breaking them up to feud over Carmella is, too cliche. I would rather not have that happen at all. But, to see her turn on Enzo and Cass to join Blake and Murphy, maybe. I don't really see the point in it. Actually, it would actually help Blake and Murphy, because I think as good of a team as they are, they need some more personality, and I feel like adding maybe Carmella to the mix would be pretty cool. I don't know how well they would gel as a team. Carmella gels with Enzo and Cass. She's not very well liked, but her gimmick, of course, is very reminiscent of Big Cass and Enzo, very similar. So that's why they fit so well together. I don't know if that would be the case with Blake and Murphy, but it would add a little personality to the group, which they are starting to show, which is cool. But that wasn't like the first thought that came to my mind when I saw that happen last week when they were like offering her a rose or something like that. But I wouldn't be opposed to the idea. I'll say that much. It's all in the execution of that theory. His second question, Justin's second question, do you see Daniel Bryan winning the Intercontinental Championship and John Cena winning the United States Championship as a step down for their careers, or is the WWE trying to bring the prize back, or bring prestige, back to the championships? Yeah, definitely the latter. Absolutely the latter. I do not think that, slightly for John Cena, he's at a point where he can really bring some importance to those mid-card titles because he hasn't been doing anything for quite some time. He was in the main event of WrestleMania a couple years ago. He was in the mid-card last year against Bray Wyatt. He was in the mid-card, not technically the mid-card. He was like on third to last before the main event. So it wasn't technically the mid-card as much as it was last year. That said, though, That's exactly where John Cena should be. I'm not saying he's a glorified mid-carder, but I feel like it can really benefit the people that he works with and the championship itself. When he drops it, maybe it'll go back to meaning shit. And even Rusev, when he was holding it, I feel like he was doing a really good job as United States champion. And that's something that a lot of people don't realize, is that when Rusev was holding that belt, was he the greatest U.S. champion ever? No, but I mean, he was defending the title more than Dean Ambrose. He's over. People care about him. He's had really good matches. So I think Rusev was kind of the starting point of making that belt mean something again. For Daniel Bryan, yes, it is a step down, considering, he was in the main event of WrestleMania last year as the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. That's where he should have been this year. It all worked out in the end, of course. But, he should have been, he was in the World Championship picture last year. So, of course, it's going to be seen as a step down. That said, though, I feel like, are they trying to push the title or making, trying to devalue Bryan? I feel like it should be more the former, with them trying to make that title mean something. Bryan losing to Ziggler, like, clean back-to-back weeks in a row was really weird. And I wrote a post on Facebook a couple weeks ago saying why Vince McMahon hates Daniel Bryan. There's a lot of signs there. But, the guy is over, and I feel like him as champion can really make that title mean something. And again, it's very hot and cold with this company. They can make one championship mean something, for 1 week, and the next week it's back to meaning shit. So it's really, they really go back and forth, that kind of thing. I would not be surprised if that happened with Daniel Bryan. Like, tonight they're really playing up the prestige of the title, and the next week he loses a non-title match. It's really a back and forth situation with this company. But yeah, I would definitely say it's more of a step up for the championships themselves than it is than them being stepped down. John Cena, I think it's really nice in his case, because we haven't seen him as mid-card champion in almost exactly 10 years. It was March of 2005 when he last held the United States Championship, which is surreal. And in Daniel Bryan's case, is it a step down? Yes, but I feel like it's not a step down if he can make that belt mean something. If he's doing what Barrett did and losing every week and not getting TV time and no one gives two shits about him, then yes, the title reign's going to flop. But I feel like with these two as champions and maybe potentially building to a unification match at SummerSlam rematch from 2 years ago, where I will be in attendance this year. I cannot wait for that. But I feel like that could be incredible. So, Justin's second question, did you think that the main event of WrestleMania 31 was a bit of a letdown before Seth Rollins came in and cashed in the Money in the Bank briefcase? So here it is with the main event. In my opinion, anyway, it's all subjective. Whatever you think is cool, whatever I think is fine too. So with the main event last night, I would have been pissed because, RJ and I, when we were watching it live together, we both thought that, Reigns would kick out of like 3 F5s, which was a bit excessive. I know he looked very strong in defeat, but the fact that he had to kick out of 4 F5s or 4 or 5 F5s was like nuts. Like, that was way too many. That said, though, I feel like, what was I even getting? Oh, the match itself. That Lesnar was going to be made to look strong by having, Reigns come out of nowhere and then pin him with the spear. That would have made Lesnar look extremely weak, and I'm extremely happy that was not the case. So, early goings, I mean, I didn't hate it. I didn't think it was an amazing match. I thought it was a really, really good match from a storytelling standpoint in retrospect, because like I was talking to John last night, at _John Stargan on Twitter, if you want to follow him, at RJ_Marceau, if you want to follow both of them on Twitter. We were talking about this last night, but I feel like the end justifies the means in this case. That, the beginning, the early goings of that matchup, say, if Reigns won, I would have thought that was a terrible matchup. With Reigns taking all this abuse only to come back and win. Like, that would have been a horrendous main event. I guarantee you it would have been like the top 5 worst of all time. People would have been claiming that if that happened. And it was all in the execution. I loved the way it played out. Like, that was brilliant booking, with Lesnar dominating most of the matchup. And it wasn't like Lesnar versus Taker last year, where it was Lesnar hitting a finisher, Taker hitting a finisher. Like, that was pretty crazy. And, the way that match played out was horrendous. But I feel like the story they told in this match, much like they did with Cena and Lesnar last year, and playing up Lesnar as an extremely dominant force, I thought was exceptional. So it was not at all a letdown. If anything, it exceeded my expectations. I thought it was great. And I don't know what people expected. I mean, I didn't think it was going to be an in-ring classic. So the way they ended up going with it, with the storytelling, route, and, with the Rollins cash-in mid-match, which I'll get to in a few minutes, just everything about it I thought was just absolutely phenomenal. That ending, the match itself, I thought was really good. In retrospect and in storytelling standpoint, from a storytelling standpoint, they avoided them, doing a repeat of Goldberg and Lesnar from 20. Like, that was just a shit. And the crowd didn't take, they didn't take the main event hostage last night. They didn't crap all over. They were pretty receptive, and if anything, they captured the suspense of the crowd. And I feel like Lesnar re-signing, definitely added to that, because you didn't know who was going to win. It was not predictable. I thought for sure that Reigns was going to win, as sure as it was that Lesnar was good as gone from the WWE after last week. Then he resigns, and then this happens. They keep on proving me wrong, which is great to see. I've never been happy. Never have I been happy to have been wrong, so I thought that was great. But the way they ended up going with it, I thought was great. So it was not at all a letdown, in my opinion. For other people, maybe, but I wasn't expecting it. Like on a 5-star classic. I thought the way they ended up going with it, and the inclusion of Rollins and the cash-in and Lesnar not getting pinned, the way that Reigns was booked for the most part, a little too Cena-esque with the 3 F5s. That was a little nuts. I mean, not even Cena would have kicked out of 3 F5s, or Taker for that matter, a guy that's fucking 21-0 at WrestleMania. But still, I thought it was an exceptional matchup. Really, really enjoyed it. His next question. Tonight is a big night, the Raw after WrestleMania. I cannot wait for that show. Do you see tonight as the night that Finn Balor making his way up to the main roster, since he already competed for the NXT Championship? So that wasn't the first thing that ran through my mind when Balor won the Contenders match a few months ago, and then, he got the title match this past week, like a week ago in NXT. That wasn't the first thing that ran through my mind, was that, he's being called up, like right now. I didn't think that at all. But everything's really starting to come into place. The fact that they were pushing him so aggressively, they didn't, I don't want to say they burned through all their money matches at NXT, if they even have money matches. I know it's a free program on the network, but you know what I mean. They already did him and Tommy, they did him and Neville, him and Owens. So they've already done like most of the matches that people are looking forward to. And that's not to say they can't do rematches down the line, but you would think that they would have done a slow burn with that. And it gives me the feeling that, yes, like you said, I feel like there is a chance that he could debut tonight on Raw. And I mean, for some people, you're either watching this after the fact or whatever. But I feel like there is a chance we could see Balor debut tonight. Either him or Neville, maybe Breeze, I don't know. There's a lot of potential talent down in NXT that I'm very excited to see called up. And I feel like, Finn Balor is an absolute star. I say it every single time he shows up in NXT. I feel like he just radiates stardom. Every time he comes out, the entrance, the in-ring skills, this guy is going to be a megastar in WWE, along with Kevin Owens. But I feel like, with Kevin Owens being the champion right now, and that hasn't stopped people from being called up before. Rollins and Big E were all champion when they were, both of them were champion when they were called up a few years ago. So it wouldn't stop Owens, but he's injured anyway, and Sami Zayn would be amazing too. And I've been saying that here in the show for months too. If Sami Zayn debuts tonight and beats Cesaro or something, you think my voice is shot now. You think this is shot now. You won't even believe what would happen if that was the case, if that went down tonight on Raw. But still, yeah, I think there is a chance. I'm not going to say it's guaranteed that Balor debuts tonight. I don't want to get anyone's hopes up. I set my expectations low for a lot of things. I mean, I'm an optimist, of course, but even with like the WrestleMania last night and the WrestleMania main event, I thought there was a very big chance it was gonna be the shits. And the fact they went the complete opposite direction and superseded my expectations, that's what made me so excited. So I feel like I'm not going to fully expect a Balor debut, a debut of some kind, hopefully, but and they didn't debut an NXT guy in the Rumble either. So that's where I thought they were going to debut a new NXT guy. So, and it's anyone's guess. But, yeah, there's a chance. Would absolutely love to see it. I would go nuts. Follow me on Twitter for all the live mark-out tweets. And next week, I won't even be able to do a show because I think my voice would be gone completely. Not even shot, just gone completely. So Colin G, his question was, did Roman Reigns prove himself? That's a very broad question. A good question, a really good question, a broad question though. And that, did he prove himself last night? I love it. I mean, I love the fact that Reigns was not given the belt, because I think WWE also recognizes, because I thought they were going to be spiteful like they were at the Rumble and say, we know he's not ready, but fuck you, we're going to give him the belt anyway. That's basically what they did at the Rumble, and I'm very, very happy they didn't go that route. They realized, Reigns isn't ready. We can wait until SummerSlam. We can wait until WrestleMania next year to put the belt on him. It doesn't really matter. I feel like if they wait longer, it'll mean more when he eventually wins it. I'm always a traditionalist like that in whatever, wrestling, whatever. So I feel like them waiting on, him getting his big championship win is going to work out for the better in the long term. So I really like that. But he had a really good showing last night. I mean, getting his ass handed to him and not fighting back was weird. But so I thought he had an exceptional match, easily his best match to this point. I mean, that goes without saying. But he continues to improve. I mean, I've said that. I don't hate Reigns. I love Reigns. I think he's really, really good. You know, my claim, like a lot of other people's, my argument, my criticism was that he wasn't ready. And people are like, oh, what does not ready mean? It means that the guy is not fucking where he should be. His mic skills aren't where they should be. His in-ring skills aren't where they should be. And a lot of people recognize that if he was ready, then people would be shitting on him. I'm not using, he's not ready as an excuse for I'd rather have Daniel Bryan instead. Daniel Bryan would have been great, but that's not the point. It's not that I hate Roman Reigns. I like Roman Reigns. The fact that, his booking is not where it should be. He's not where he should be. He's improved, like I said, immensely in the last couple of months, but he's not main event talent yet. He's not world champion material. Maybe by SummerSlam, maybe. I mean, we were all saying that by SummerSlam that he was going to be ready by WrestleMania. That wasn't the case. So I'm glad they switched plans there. But, regardless, though, did he prove himself last night was your question. No, I mean, it's not like he had an amazing showing. I thought he did really, really well, and the story was great, but he had his ass handed to him. It's like not, it wasn't like one thing where there was like, this guy, he's proved himself, he's ready. By prove himself, do you mean like, is he ready? No, he's not ready. Yeah, I thought it was a good step in the right direction. I don't think he's ready, though, for the main event. But yeah, I thought he had a really, really good showing last night. I feel like he'll continue to improve going forward, and maybe by SummerSlam time, it will be time for him to become the world champion that he's destined to be. So I'm looking forward to that. Jared J., his question was, with their losses, who has a better chance of recovering at Extreme Rules, Bray Wyatt or Rusev? Very good question, because I was not happy coming out of WrestleMania. No, I'm sorry. I thought going into WrestleMania I was not going to be happy. Coming out of WrestleMania, that Rusev and Bray Wyatt would not be handled well. And the thing is that I would love to be optimistic and say that Bray Wyatt will get his heat back tonight. Because you know what? We all thought the same thing last year with Bray Wyatt. And the thing with John Cena, I mean, John Cena and Undertaker are two completely different people. They had to drag that feud on because Undertaker's not around, so they're not going to do a rematch. And even when Bray Wyatt did get his win back over John Cena, it was these shits. It was literally, and RJ and I are in agreement on this, literally one of the worst pay-per-view matches I've ever seen. Absolutely horrendous. So that said, will he bounce back? It's anyone's guess. I mean, like I said, I would love to be optimistic, but last year's booking scenario that whatever happened with Bray Wyatt last year did not give me much hope. With Rusev, I mean, I was a little bit more disappointed with him losing. Bray Wyatt I thought was fine. He kicked out of the tombstone. He had a good showing. I thought it was a decent match. I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. I enjoyed it for what it was. It was exactly what I thought it was going to be. So, I mean, there's no reason to complain about it. So I thought it was good. Rusev, though, with Rusev, he had the grand entrance, made a star out of almost exactly like Bray Wyatt last year. But, he hits 1 AA on the guy, and he's done. That was it. I felt like I was waiting for something else. The match was not shit. I thought it was a good match. The build-up of the video packages made it really, really obvious that Cena was going to win. He wasn't going to let 9/11 down. I mean, once they showed 9/11, Cena's winning. It was pretty obvious. That said, though, I feel like Bray Wyatt will recover better. I mean, come Extreme Rules, he can recover, by tonight on Raw for all we know. With Rusev, I feel like the feud's going to continue, and even though he might beat John Cena in the next pay-per-view and he'll get his win back, get the championship back, it's going to be done in a shitty fashion like we saw with Bray Wyatt last year. So I fear for Rusev because I feel like after this point, because he's been built up with the undefeated streak. At least Bray Wyatt wasn't undefeated. He's been doing great the last couple of months, but it wasn't like he was undefeated like he was last year. That's why it was so damaging to his career, that feud with John Cena, which did nothing to help anybody involved. Not the Wyatt family, not Bray Wyatt, not John Cena, nobody. So that said, yeah, I feel like Bray Wyatt will be fine if he works with whoever at Extreme Rules. Whoever that is, I have no idea. Maybe a Ziggler, maybe, we already saw Ambrose. Daniel Bryan and him for the IC Championship would be fucking phenomenal. I would love to see that. Bray Wyatt versus Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan finally gets his big win over Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt might need to, rebound from the loss, but, from Undertaker at WrestleMania. But I feel like he has a better chance of rebounding because we've already seen him in the shitter. He's already reached as low as he can go from last year. Rusev is the one that I fear for because he has the gimmick that screams mid-card, that he'll go back down to, losing to Dolph Ziggler and Bryan and Ambrose and R-Truth every week, So hopefully that's not the case. But, yeah, I feel like better chance of recovering has to go to Bray Wyatt. Jeremiah C., his question was, is it just me, or did Undertaker look 5 to 7 years younger last night? Also, it looks like he went to the American Badass / Big Evil look. Yes, he did. I don't know about 5 to 7 years younger, but he did look really, really good. I'm not going to say like he looks as great as he did in '04, but I love the change in look. I love the pants. And yeah, you're right. He did have the American Badass look. And I'm glad they didn't go all out with like the motorcycle. Like I would have marked the hell out for that. Like if they had rolling, 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 rolling. Ow. Like that would have been cool by Limp Bizkit. Great song. Yeah, I felt like the hybrid between the Undertaker, it was almost exactly like we saw at WrestleMania 20, almost exactly, from the short hair to the pants. I thought it was cool. I thought he looked a lot better than last year. That goes without saying. Probably the best that Undertaker's looked probably since like 26 or 27, I feel like. Because when he cut the hair, he looked a lot older. And I feel like he doesn't have to grow his hair back out that long. But I didn't even know he was growing his hair back out because I saw some recent picture of him. He was still bald, I think. I'm not sure. But he looked really, really good last night. I thought he looked great. The match itself was not like phenomenal, but it was exactly what I thought it was going to be, and that it was a good match. Wyatt looked good. The entrances were cool. They got the WrestleMania moment with Wyatt doing the spider walk and Taker setting up. That was a really cool moment. I don't care what you say. I thought that was great. So yeah, Undertaker looked really, really good. I don't know what's next for him. I mean, we'll find out tonight on Raw. I mean, you're probably watching this after the fact if I tweet this out after Raw. But I've been saying this for a long time now that Sting comes out or Taker comes out, is about to speak or cuts a promo on their win-loss last night, and the other one comes out to interrupt them, and you plant the seeds for a match at WrestleMania 32. I feel like that's the best thing you could do. And, Sting is in pretty good shape as well. He looked pretty good last night. I mean, he was huffing and puffing, and so is Taker. But I feel like, I've said it before, the match could be shit, but that's where the money match is, and it would be a great final match for both guys at WrestleMania in Arlington next year. So, yeah, it looked really, really good last night. Enjoyed that, Taker really cleaned up his look, so to speak, coming into WrestleMania for the first time in years. For a guy that's 50 years old, too. Take that into consideration. Omar M., his question was, what is the future of Dolph Ziggler? I feel like he's going to be the next contender for the Intercontinental Championship based off the way. I mean, they could have had anybody up there with Dolph or with Daniel Bryan last night at the top of the ladder, but it had to be Dolph, and people weren't booing him, but they really wanted to see Bryan win. I mean, Ziggler is beloved, but if it's anyone but Bryan, they would have booed or not cheered as heavily as they did for Daniel Bryan. So I feel like they might either turn Ziggler heel because they need more heels, and I mean, I've been saying it for months, but Ziggler is, at this point, one of the most over baby faces they have right now, so turning him, it might be, damaging to him, like we saw with Ryback, like he was over when they turned him. I mean, Ryback should have never turned heel. I think that goes without saying. With Ziggler, I feel like, is a better heel, and there might be a great feud in line with him with Daniel Bryan over that championship. He already beat Bryan twice, so I feel like, yeah, going into Extreme Rules now that I think about it, it'll probably be him and Bryan or Brian Barrett and Brian Barrett and Ziggler for the Intercontinental Championship, which would be a great triple threat match for that pay-per-view over that title, kind of, bringing back that prestige that I talked about before to that Intercontinental Championship. So I thought that was really, really cool. That's what I see as the future of Dolph Ziggler. Brett V, his question was, can you see a double turn between Rollins and Roman Reigns sometime in 2015? Yes, I could. That's a really, really good scenario because a lot of people thought it was going to happen last night with Rollins turning babyface and Reigns going heel. I feel like Reigns has to go heel at some point if the boos continue. I know WrestleMania crowds are different from any other crowd that we see during the year, but Reigns as a heel I think could be money. And I think Rollins is such an amazing heel. Like he's the best heel that they have right now aside from Brock Lesnar. So, turning him, he's going to be a great babyface one day, but you need to wait on that because he's doing the best work of his career right now. And if he gets cheered every week, don't fight it, just turn him. Like we saw with Cesaro, they made that mistake. But, with Rollins anyway, and Reigns for that matter, I feel like Reigns is a better heel. They can turn him, but I would not be surprised if they did a double turn at like SummerSlam. Like what people thought we were going to see last night, we see at SummerSlam instead. With, Reigns and Rollins, facing off in the main event for the championship, and Reigns goes heel and Rollins turns babyface. I could see that happening. So, yeah, I feel like there is a very big chance of that we see a double turn at some point in 2015. There were also some questions from last week's #AskYouSem video in the comments section. I'm going to pull them up really quickly. I apologize for that. But Jose K asked a few questions. They're in the video. I just didn't put them in the lineup, so I apologize for the delay. Maybe you can fast forward this to the moment where I answer the questions. I'm on the video now. I'm picking up the questions. I just didn't. I felt bad leaving his out, and because it's so timely. Because WrestleMania was last night, I don't want to forget about his questions. Okay, he asked a few of them, so I apologize, Jose, for not answering them at the start of the video here. But here are the answers to your questions. So. One of them you asked a few days ago. First one was, who do you see switching sides first from going face to heel and heel to face? I feel like I asked this. You're specifying here. I'm sorry. Your question is, who do you see switching sides first from going heel to face or face to heel? Roman, Dean, or Seth? Okay, this is a great question because I've already answered the question in context without the Shield, but with these guys, I have not. Of those three, I can see Dean. I could definitely see Dean going heel to feud with Daniel Bryan for the Intercontinental Championship. Or John Cena. I feel like Bryan and Ambrose. Bryan and Ambrose and Ambrose and Cena could be really good. I feel like that it's only a matter of time before we see those feuds. I feel like Roman will be the first one. I don't know about that actually. I'll probably have to go with Dean. I feel like they'll turn him before they turn Roman or Seth. I feel like Roman has to turn at some point, but they really want to push him as the next big babyface, so they won't do it immediately. But I'd probably have to go with Dean Ambrose. He'll probably turn heel at some point to feud with Cena or Bryan or somebody for the Intercontinental or World Championship or United States Championship. That would be cool. So probably Dean Ambrose. His second question, who do you see having a great chance to have a match against Brock Lesnar where it physically can't be a dominant Lesnar match? In thinking Cesaro, I was thinking Cesaro, but I doubt Cesaro can get that match hype for a Lesnar match. Bray Wyatt, he seems to dish up pain and have a psychological, or whatever that means. I apologize. I'm not the best pronunciator, I guess, if that's even a word either. Psychology, whatever, match against him. What about Randy Orton? I don't know. I really want to see Cesaro and Lesnar. Haha. And your second question was Bryan versus Cena. Will it happen? I'll get to that in a second. That's a good question, though. Who will be the first one to have an equal match to Brock Lesnar where he's not dominating people? We saw him dominate. I mean, we didn't see him he was great at the Rumble, but, Cena and Rollins were kind of even with him. If you mean one-on-one match, though, he dominated Reigns, Cena, Taker, Big Show. Like you said, Cesaro would be a great pick. The only thing with Cesaro is that he's been devalued. I mean, he's not where he was at a year ago. And as much as I love his tag team with Tyson Kidd, he's not going to be taken seriously as a main eventer overnight. Like, I know maybe in time again, I feel like he can be a threat to Brock Lesnar, and you tie in, the Paul Heyman, you have that tie-in right there. It's going to take some time to build up Cesaro as a main event threat. I mean, the guy was in the pre-show last night for a tag team title match. Like I said, I love the tag team Tyson Kidd, and I feel like his ceiling is where his potential is at the main event level. I think that's what he's capable of. So I feel like Lesnar and Cesaro would be great, but like you said, it's not likely, so I would not put on that. I would not bank on a match between Cesaro and Lesnar at any time in the near future, if ever, unfortunately. You mentioned Bray Wyatt. I agree with Bray Wyatt. I feel like he could be the first one to give Lesnar a competitive match. I absolutely feel that's the case. So Bray Wyatt, I'd probably have to go with. You said Randy Orton. I don't know about Randy Orton. I thought we talked about this with RJ. Or I asked RJ this last night of the show. Was that if you would want to see that match, and he said no, because, given the way that Lesnar currently is. I still want to see that match. I feel like it's something fresh. I think it could be a really well-wrestled match, considering how hot Orton is right now, the wave of momentum that he's currently riding. So I would love to see that match, but to answer your question, who could give Lesnar his first, equal match? Probably Bray Wyatt. Like you said, he's very, he's very painful in the ring, so to speak. He has a very physical in-ring style, and meshing with that. And Lesnar's, I feel like, would be great. Would be a match made in heaven. So if Bray ever goes babyface or something, I feel like that'd be a great match. I don't know if he'll be the first one, but that's the only one that comes to mind that he can get that equal match. If he faces Rock, maybe too, but I don't know if that's going to be the case. I'd much rather see Bray and Lesnar to answer your question. Bryan versus Cena, will it happen? Almost guaranteed. I feel like, they realize how great the match was. We remember how great that match was. People have been asking for a rematch since the day after SummerSlam 2013. And that match was so great, we need to see a rematch at some point. I feel like a rematch at SummerSlam this year and a unification match for both belts, if both guys can hold on to both championships. Going in that event would be absolutely surreal. And Bryan, unifying both belts. And I would love to see Bryan pull a Warrior in him beating Lesnar or Rollins or whoever and being I know, Triple H did it too, but, that was in the case of the world champion beating the IC champion. I would love to see Bryan be the IC champion and beat the world champion and win both belts. That would be fucking phenomenal. Nothing would top that. Maybe the exception of last night. Nothing is going to top that ending, but you know what I mean. But to answer your question, whether it be at SummerSlam this year or at some point, yes, it is almost guaranteed we will see a rematch between Bryan and Cena. There's a lot of unfinished business there, in my opinion. And his final question was, since Undertaker is leaving eventually, If you could choose two superstars to go on a streak and go on to either face each other when they are both 7 straight wins, or who would you choose? I like that scenario. I don't know what you're really asking here. I guess you're asking like if you can have someone go undefeated at WrestleMania and then have them face off in a streak versus streak match. I mean, any member of the Shield was undefeated before last night. Rollins suffers first loss. Reigns got fucking pinned, so that he's not undefeated anymore. And Ambrose lost too. So, yeah, they've all been beaten. There goes their undefeated streaks. And in terms of, let me see here. I don't know. I mean, honestly, I know what you're trying to get at with Undertaker going. He's retiring soon. Who could you have going another undefeated streak at WrestleMania? It's not going to matter. It should not happen. You can't replicate that. Nothing is ever going to top that. And it's not just because Undertaker, went undefeated. You got to take into consideration, his gimmick and his respect as a wrestler, everything, everything considered, the greatest streak in wrestling history that will never be duplicated or replicated or whatever. So, both 7 wins straight or whatever. If you're talking about undefeated at WrestleMania, I really don't care to see that because I feel like they can't replicate what they did with Undertaker. There's no doubt about it. So, nah, I really don't care to see that. I mean, maybe on any other pay-per-view, you build up 2 undefeated guys and have them have this big clash. I would like to see that. I mean, I wouldn't mind that, but the whole going undefeated at WrestleMania thing, just let it go. No one's ever going to go 21-0. People will always compare it to that. So there's really no point, especially for someone like a Roman Reigns or whatever. So, no, not really a fan of the scenario. I get what you're trying to. I understand what you're trying to get at, but I wouldn't really care to see it personally. So next question comes from @Daniel59 or Daniel Cabeza59, excuse me. His question was, what are your thoughts on Rey Mysterio receiving death threats because of the incident of Perro Aguado Jr.? So he asked this last week. I forgot to get to it, so my apologies to Daniel. My answer to this anyway. I wrote an entire article about this on nextwrestling.net if you want to check it out. It's from last Tuesday, so you got to backlog a little bit. There's a lot of articles up there right now. But, yeah, I feel like my full thoughts are there. But in a nutshell, though, just wrong. I mean, I know that goes without saying, but the death threats thing were really over the top. I mean, it wasn't Rey Mysterio's fault. Freak accidents happen. It sucks. It's very unfortunate. My prayers and condolences go out to the family and the friends and the fans of Perro Aguado. But Rey Mysterio was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. I mean, it wasn't his fault. He should not be blamed. I mean, I know there's a lot of passionate fans out there, and I talked about this in the article. I know there's a lot of people that just didn't like Rey Mysterio to begin with, and they're just using this as another reason to not like him. It's just stupid. I just think it's ridiculous. The whole, to criticize him at all for being a murderer is fucking, absolutely asinine. But to give him death threats and stuff like that is scary. It's ridiculous. And, like I said, it goes without saying. It's just absolutely ridiculous. The guy is not in the wrong. Nobody's in the wrong. Freak accidents happen. I'm sure he's shaken up about it. It's not like, he's okay with it. I mean, of course he's shaken up. He was in a match where someone died, So, just absolutely, just so stupid that people would even consider doing that. Just so disgusting, in my opinion. At Cody Collier 37, on a lighter note here, what was your favorite thing about WrestleMania 31, and what did you think was the most underrated part of it? Favorite thing? The entire show. That show was, I mean, I know that's a cheat, and that's just, I'm, cheating and saying that I'm the entire show, but I love the show. Absolutely love it. Favorite thing, if you really want to crack down, either the RKO out of nowhere. I mean, maybe that's the most underrated part. People recognize how great that ending was to that match, and Rollins was involved in both of my moments here. But I mean, I know it was not the most talked about thing at the end of the night, but that was great. Like, people are saying one of the best finishes of all time, and it is. But I mean, you think about one of the best finishes of all time. Like, I'm not even joking here. I felt like that. The execution from the curve stomp into the RKO. I watched it at least a dozen times after that point. It was so fucking great. I can't even stress how great it was. But most underrated part, probably that. I mean, I thought the Ronda Rousey. I mean, a lot of R's there. I thought was really, really good. I don't know if I would call it underrated, but I thought it was an entertaining segment. Underrated, maybe the ladder match. I mean, I know a lot of people weren't like raving over that at the end of the night, but it was a great match though, considering everything that happened. And, Yeah, I mean, underrated. I mean, underrated. I would also give Rusev's entrance. I also thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, favorite thing about WrestleMania, either the finish of that match between Orton and Rollins. Has to be the ending of the show, though. I mean, that's why I lost my voice. Had it not been for that ending, I would not have lost my voice and have to suffer through talking for you to you guys for an hour without my voice, and that's my apologies. I mean, I could have ended this thing 20 minutes ago if I wanted to, but I love answering you guys' questions. But all the blame is on me, not you guys. Don't put the blame on you guys. It's all on me. But yeah, by far my favorite moment of the night, the cash in. Just I didn't see it coming. I know there was a chance that it could happen, but the way that it was booked and the way that it played out was perfect. It was absolutely nothing wrong with it, in my opinion. Absolutely, 100%, 10 out of 10, perfect. So flawless. I would absolutely have to say that my favorite part of WrestleMania last night was that ending. Best ending ever. I'm going to put a question mark at the end of that because someone else. RJ, let's go on to the next question. What a great tie-in. What a great segue. The next question from the buddy that I watched WrestleMania with last night. We were both going crazy. I mean, I lost my voice, but you know, biggest markout moment for him. He said. I mean, that's phenomenal. We were going nuts. We blew the roof off our dorm while we were watching it. But RJ's question at RJ_Marceau. His question was, don't want to take too much credit for my early cash-in forecast. All credit goes to you, dude. You called that. I give you 100% of the credit. You called it back in August. I showed the text on Twitter, but you called it all the way back then. And you even said yourself that he wasn't ready. So the fact that you called that was just mind-blowing, but still, though. Your question, was that the best ending in WrestleMania history? A very, very good question. I mean, it really got me thinking about all the great endings in WrestleMania, you know, in the last 30 years. And there's been a lot of great endings, a lot of awesome WrestleMania moments. But I'm not going to go with 1 through 30 every WrestleMania right here, like for the best endings. But you know, Daniel Bryan's win last year has got to like lead the list for. I'm not going to say it's number 1. But the thing with Bryan's win, I mean, I loved it, and RJ was there, so he can speak for himself on this one. That you know, he can speak for this, he can attest to this. That was a phenomenal finish. I mean, people, you know, the build up, everything about it was so great. We knew it was going to happen. It wasn't like it was extremely predictable. I figured there was a chance that Orton or Batista might win, but it was still a great moment. I was going crazy, but we kind of saw it coming with Rollins. I mean, some people saw it coming. RJ himself kind of called it beforehand. But me personally, I did not see that happening. I didn't think there was a snowball's chance in hell of Rollins cashing in, much less, you know, Reigns not leaving as world champion. So, yeah, I think if it's not number 1, it's absolutely up there. I mean, other great Mania endings. 17, I mean, the turn with McMahon was epic and all, but I mean, in retrospect, you know, was it the right move? Probably not. I mean, I think we all recognize that. So I don't know if I would put that as the best ending. But the ending to last year's WrestleMania. Rock winning at 28, I wouldn't put like my top 3 or 5 or whatever. That was a great moment. 26 with Michaels retiring, another great moment. Not like a feel-good moment, but, you know, still a phenomenal ending. I'm trying to think of what else. You know, Warrior merging the IC and WWE titles, a great, you know, feel-good moment at WrestleMania 6. Savage winning the belt. Benoit too at WrestleMania 20, but I feel like, you know, those are all great moments, but in the finish of those matches were all great, but nothing topped last night. Like the booking to last night's match, no, I didn't see anyone predict that. I didn't think anyone, you know, from what I saw, no one thought that was going to happen. There was a chance of that happening. It wasn't like, oh, you know, this isn't going to happen. Just no one thought of the possibility of it becoming a triple threat. If anything, I thought he could have cashed in afterwards, like that right after the match, after Reigns won the belt. But and then at that point, it would have been predictable. For the music to go off halfway during the match was nuts. So, yeah, I mean, if it's not number 1, it's absolutely up there. I would have to break it down a little more and kind of go more in depth with every, you know, more in depth with every ending to every WrestleMania in the last 30 years. Maybe I'll have to make an article about that, about the best Mania endings. But if it's not number 1, easily number 2 or 3. I mean, then nothing's going to beat that. It's all about the aftermath, but I feel like the way that it was executed was absolutely flawless. There was nothing wrong with it whatsoever. At Jared Bodle's question was, where would you rank WrestleMania 31 in the greatest all-time WrestleManias? Again, very good question. As I talked about last night with John, we were on the phone for a while, but he was saying, we wrote an article about another cheap plug, nexteraWrestling.net, ranking every WrestleMania main event ever. Not every WrestleMania, every WrestleMania main event. And, you know, we couldn't really rank 30 until after, like a year later, because there's so many, you know, factors that go into it, like lasting impact and the build-up and the execution. And, you know, for all we know, Rollins could lose the belt tonight to fucking Santino, you know, so you never really know. I mean, obviously that's not going to happen, but you know what I mean. Like, anything can happen. The aftermath could be absolutely terrible, and we're not going to really know until it happens, you know? So, in that respect, we got to wait another year, I feel like, in order to rank this WrestleMania among the best of all time. Because you think about 30, and, you know, it had amazing moments, one of the best WrestleManias of all time, but Bryan was in the opening match the following year. Cesaro's win didn't really do much for him. Was the streak worth it? Was the breaking of the streak worth it? You know, stuff like that. I mean, a year later, I mean, at the time, it was like, wow, that just happened, but the aftermath wasn't all that good. I mean, for whatever reason, they dropped the ball on Cesaro, Bryan got hurt, you know? So I feel like whatever, we can't judge this WrestleMania until, in my opinion, my bare minimum is a year later. Like, whatever happens this time next year, you know, we'll have to wait and see, but I feel like at that point, then we can start ranking this one among the best of all time. But early impressions, though, an amazing show. I mean, some people maybe hated it. I heard some people like, oh, that was shit. Like, this was garbage. But there was not one thing in that show that, like, overtly pissed me off, like, to beyond belief. The only thing that I didn't really like was Cena winning. But like I said before, that was predictable. People saw it coming. The match wasn't bad. I would have rather seen Rusev get more of a fight, you know, before he lost. Get in more of a fight against Cena. Get in more offense before he eventually got pinned by him. But, you know, even so, that it was a moment. It was a better moment than Cena beating Bray Wyatt, which was pointless. At least Cena winning the world or the United States Championship at least will bring importance to that mid-card belt. Cena beating Wyatt was fucking pointless last year, you know? Still though, I would absolutely have to say that it was up there. I mean, if not the greatest WrestleMania of all time, a lot of people are saying, oh, it wasn't the best one. And I absolutely agree. I don't know if it was the best WrestleMania of all time, but absolutely up there, though. Easily top 10. I mean, that goes without saying. Maybe top 5, I would say. Up there with WrestleMania 30. Those WrestleManias were among the best of all time, in my opinion. And Marachi, his question was, what are your thoughts on Daniel Bryan becoming a Triple Crown champion? Really, really cool. I thought it was a great moment. The WrestleMania, you know, living again, returning 1 year later, after winning the belt in the main event and then winning the belt in the opening match. I think it's great. And I'm a, you know, a sucker for, like, you know, little fun facts and stuff. But I love the fact that he went from, you know, contending for the U.S. title 1 year to the world title the next, tag team titles, WWE World Heavyweight Championship, and then the Intercontinental Championship. I think that is awesome, and I don't think anyone's ever done that before. And he's won all championships too. And you know, the amount of the 3 greatest people in WWE currently that were not Triple Crown champions were John Cena, which, I mean, if he can win the U.S. Championship, anything is possible. Were John Cena, The Undertaker, which is not going to happen, and Daniel Bryan. And Daniel Bryan has succeeded in becoming the new Intercontinental Champion. And we now, I mean, I think he's the first Intercontinental Champion crowned in nearly 3 years. I think I was looking at the list a couple days ago, and the last person to do it was The Miz, and that was 2012 on Raw 1000. He won the Intercontinental title. So it's really cool to see Daniel Bryan, you know, get that achievement. It was a huge moment. Really, really enjoyed it. And, yeah, I think they didn't really bring that up. I mean, for some people, the Grand Slam championship, I mean, people are saying that he's a Grand Slam champion. I'm a traditionalist. I go by what, you know, what the book says. And a Grand Slam champion in my book is when you win the WWE World Heavyweight title and the Intercontinental Championship. The U.S. title does not count because it was property of WCW. The tag team titles and the and the European or Hardcore championships. And I know, oh, you know, those championships aren't around, so you can't become a Grand Slam champion in 2015. That's the point. The only people that can become Grand Slam champion are those that have never held those championships, are those that, there's only a select few people that can call themselves Grand Slam champion. You cannot become a Grand Slam champion in 2015. That's what makes it so special. You know, you can say, oh, what makes a Grand Slam champion in 2015? You have to win all 4 belts, the mid-card belts, tag team titles, and the world titles. I mean, I get that if you want to say like the current incarnation, but to me, a solid definition of a Triple Crown or a Grand Slam champion is IC belt, world belt, tag team titles, and the European or Hardcore championship. That's the way that I see it, but I apologize for going off on a tangent. But to answer your original question, yes, I think it's great. An awesome moment to kick off WrestleMania with Daniel Bryan as your new Intercontinental Champion. Next question, at Swagzio, their question was, who should face Seth Rollins at Extreme Rules for the championship? Said this for the last couple of weeks. Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns versus Randy Orton. I feel like a triple threat between those 3 guys would be phenomenal, especially after the great match we got from Rollins and Orton last night. that a match between all three guys for the championship in the main event at Extreme Rules would be absolutely fantastic. So I would love to see that. And as I was talking about with John last night via text, I mean, there's so many potential opponents for Rollins as champion. You have Daniel Bryan, you have Dolph Ziggler, Dean Ambrose, all these other guys, Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, Randy Orton. The list goes on and on and on. That's why I love a fresh face being champion. So, yeah, that being said, I feel like, yeah, at Extreme Rules, I would do Seth versus Randy versus Roman. I feel like that's what makes the most sense. And from there, you can transition into Seth versus Roman or Seth versus Randy before you get to Seth versus Lesnar. Maybe a rematch at SummerSlam would be epic. But, yeah, a really, really cool moment. I love the fact that Rollins is champion. I said that before, and I love the fact that, you know, Randy won, so now you can lay claim to a title shot. So, yeah. Yeah, I would definitely say that the main event Extreme Rules, in my opinion, should be Rollins, Reigns, and Orton. And the final question for today's video. Thankfully, we only had a page of questions. It wasn't, you know, like 3 pages. I don't know if I could have gotten through that. My voice is so shot right now, and I apologize if it's hard to understand me or whatever. I mean, just so hyped after last night. But final question comes from @Ambrose311. His question was, based on WrestleMania, what do you think prospects are on having The Rock versus Triple H and Ronda Rousey versus Stephanie McMahon at SummerSlam? I think the money is with Rock and Rousey versus Stephanie and Triple H. I feel like 2 singles matches isn't really necessary for a few reasons. One, Triple H versus Rock I would go for, but, you know, to do it one-on-one at SummerSlam doesn't make the most sense. I would rather see them mix it up and mix tag team action, especially with the other one, Ronda versus Steph. You know it's going to be a 2-minute squash. I mean, this lady kills people in literally 8 seconds in the UFC octagon. So, I mean, for her to go up against Stephanie would be completely unrealistic if it were to go longer than like a minute, you know, at SummerSlam. So I feel like with a mixed tag team match, you have that exit that you can rely on Rock and Triple H, and then you can do that big spot at the end with Rousey knocking out Stephanie, and then that'd be amazing. So I feel like the money is with a mixed tag team match at SummerSlam, and not just one-on-one matches, because Ronda would kill Stephanie in a minute. Not saying that's a bad thing from a character standpoint, but if they want to get the most out of it, a mixed tag team match would be great. I don't even know if it's likely. I don't even know how they were able to get Rousey to begin with. That was just surreal. I mean, I thought I would never see the day where, I mean, we've seen UFC fighters on Raw before, but never in that capacity. So I thought that was unprecedented and just amazing. But, you know, guilty pleasure, and, you know, selfishly speaking, I'll be at SummerSlam this year in Brooklyn at the Barclays Center. So if Rock is there and Rousey's there and they did that mixed tag team match, I can't even express how elated I would be, how ecstatic I would be for that matchup. So hopefully we get something like that. Hopefully it does lead to something. I mean, if nothing ever comes out of that segment, that was it. Still a cool segment, but I feel like they need to go somewhere with it. I feel like if it wasn't going to go anywhere, then why would you not have Rousey just beat the shit out of Stephanie right there? She didn't take a bump. She just wrenched her arm or whatever. I feel like they were saving it for a bigger moment, and hopefully that's the case by doing a mixed tag team match at SummerSlam this upcoming August. So, that's going to do it for today's #AskGSM video. As always, guys, thank you so much for sending in the questions, and had as many questions this week, because if we went any further than that, if I had any more questions, my voice would be gone completely. So thank you for that. But that's my own fault. Like I said, I marked the fuck out last night when Rollins won. Still so hyped about that, but... And if that wasn't good enough, we have Raw tonight, too. And maybe you're watching this after the fact. Maybe you're watching this on Monday night after Raw, or Tuesday, or a year later, or whatever. But, you know, I'm very much looking forward to tonight's show. I mean, that the ending tonight's, or last night's WrestleMania will not be topped in any shape, form, or fashion. Never say never, but it's going to be difficult. I will definitely say that much. But Raw tonight should be epic. Looking forward to seeing you guys' questions on that show. And if you want to send in a question, you can find me on Facebook at Graham Jason Mathis. Leave a question on the post I usually put up on Sunday nights, or leave a question on the post on the Facebook wall itself. Tweet me on Twitter at WrestleRant with the #AskGSM, or leave a comment down below in the comment section. I'll be sure to include it in next week's edition. So as always, guys, thank you for sending in the questions. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support is greatly appreciated. And I hope you guys enjoyed WrestleMania as much as I did. As you can tell based off the loss of my voice, that I absolutely loved it. You know, superseded my expectations and reminded me why I am a wrestling fan. So enjoy Raw tonight, guys. Have a great week, and I'll speak with you guys down the road. completely forgot about this part before, but to answer Cody's question about the most underrated moment from last night's WrestleMania, I don't know how this slipped my mind, but easily the NWO, baby. I had to add this in the end because I would have felt I did you guys a disservice if I did not talk about the NWO at WrestleMania. What an amazing moment. I know a lot of people did not like it. I know RJ did not like it, but it was kind of random. I do admit that. But just seeing DX and NWO in the same ring for the first time ever at WrestleMania, a surreal moment. I'm just rocking the black and white today just to celebrate that amazing moment. After Kevin Nash going in the Hall of Fame on Saturday, and then getting the NWO the next day, Hogan, Hall, and Nash. Can't even tell you how great of a how great of a moment that was. And a lot of people either didn't like it or just completely forgot about it. I forgot about it in talking about Cody's question before. So I just wanted to add that in. I would have felt like a complete douche if I didn't talk about that. I had to talk about the NWO. So, like I said before, guys, hopefully you guys have a great Monday. Enjoy Raw tonight, and I'll speak to you guys next week.